Digital transformation may not be business transformation if it doesn't lead to transformation. It may be a simple IT intervention. Thank you for those wonderful thoughts. Now we have a small announcement. We will take a short tea break now. Before that, we request all the invitees to join for a conference photograph at the quadrangle. I repeat, we request all the invitees to join for the conference photograph at the quadrangle first, followed by a tea break. The guest leadership, conflict resolution for Karnataka State Departments of Education and Health. He has conducted workshops for students and parents on academic, interpersonal and parental issues. He has published many papers in the national and international journals. He also has a book based on his research work published to his credit. Put your hands together for Dr. Ashok, Professor of Psychology, Bangalore University. I request Dr. G.P. Sudhakar to formally welcome Dr. Ashok by offering a bouquet and a souvenir on behalf of management, staff and students. Dr. Chandrasekhar has acquired bachelor, master and PhD degrees in electronics and communication engineering. His specialization during doctoral studies was on fiber optic communication way back in 1996 from the prestigious Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. For the last 30 years, he has held positions of lecturer, assistant professor, professor, head of department, chairman BOE, BOS in BU and BTU as well. His academic pursuits include about 120 publications in various national and international conferences, journals, and textbooks. He is associated with the corporate sector for over 16 years in various roles like software engineer, module leader, project manager, senior project manager, and head of research and training. The MNC project for which he has contributed includes Infosys, Lucent, Norton, Cisco, Alcatel, and British Telecom, to name a few. His favorite hobby is trekking and has hiked in Asian, European and North American continents up to 18,000 feet above sea level. He loves deep sea snorkeling and scuba diving. Happy to have you, sir. I request Dr. Balakrishna Acharya, conference convener, to felicitate Dr. Chandrasekhar.
Impact of digital transformation on human psyche. Probably because of the time factor, I think the first 2-3 slides I will skip, because what is digital transformation and all that, I think we have already discussed about those different factors that are there. And coming from academics and coming from behavioral science perspective, I would like to deliberate few points on what is exactly happening to the human psyche as a result of digital transformation. I think this is the focus which I would like to talk about. Okay? Thanks to changes that is taking place. Now, one important component about human being as well as about the human society is both of them are dynamic in nature. So when you say dynamic in nature, it, we have heard of inventions, we have heard of revolutions, and there are different revolutions, and currently we are talking about IT revolution and generation of computers, automation, robotics we have heard of, artificial intelligence is a major area that is coming up, and then all of these has resulted in entirely a paradigm shift in the relationship between human and machine interface. So all of us, no matter whether it is a even from if you go to a prestigious international school, the child of a 2.5-year, 3-year-old is allowed. A child which tend to probably, we also say, coming from the let us say, behavioral perspective, and when we look at human beings, now how often we are comfortable in operating a system. If say for example our mobile set, if we have to change, now we say that we find it difficult how to operate that, whereas a child, you give a gadget, it operates on that particular component itself. And imagine when this child becomes an adult, what sort of gadgets would be available and how these individuals would be able to deal with that gadget. So this is the human machine interface that is taking place. This I will skip. Okay. Now when it comes to the human psyche, now what exactly you mean by human psyche? Now I am not going into detail about the theoretical concept of what is human psyche, where psyche, soul, all those components. Let us understand that we use in a common parlance the word psyche. So from the layman's perspective itself, human psyche consists of the concept of self, who I am, what I am, subjected to change and development. Now people talk about personality development. One's personality can be developed, and there is a tremendous demand for psychologists and others also to run personality development programs, so that how far the systems or the digital transformation also can be used in change and development is another factor. And the impact of external environmental factors on functioning of personality and human psyche at a generic level. I am not talking about human psyche at an individual level, because we are talking about digital transformation at a larger level. So transformation maybe at an individual level is different, where transformation at a societal level, at a generic level is another factor which we will be highlighting on. Okay. Now when I thought of what would be the impact of digital transformation, I want to look at the impact of digital transformation on three aspects. One is in terms of the self. So what impact on a single individual this digital transformation has an effect. The second would be on an interpersonal relationship. How does digital transformation has? Probably some of us may also say, some of you may also take a pride in saying that I have 1,000 friends on my Facebook, but do you really have a genuine friendship? Okay, so you see, when you're talking about the social life itself is transforming, and that's where interpersonal relationship is another component that is to take place, and behavioral component. So as a result of the access to let us say digits or a technology, now what is the change that is taking place? Overall behavior of the individual is a factor. So impact can be seen from self, interpersonal and behavioral. Now when we say impact, we cannot say that everything is negative. Probably the earlier two speakers used repeatedly one particular word, disruptive. So let us not talk about the disruptive, let us talk about the positive component and then come to inevitable disruptive factors later on. So the impact can be seen in a positive manner. So what are the positive impact of this digital transformation? One, easy accessibility. Okay, you are talking in terms of if you remember Sam Pitroda's contribution, the entire telecommunication transformation has taken place, revolution has taken place. So nook and corner of let us say the globe, you can easily access that particular individual. Okay, or anyone, any information, you can get it. That is where easy accessibility. Availability of alternatives. Now you need not have to be fixed with a given information. You can also have an alternative component. Probably if I look at from a educational perspective, now for example, if whatever the teacher says, whatever the prescribed textbook, you find it difficult to understand, there is always a Google Master, Google Scholar, go for another author, go for another information, so that which would be more understandable, which would be more comprehensive to you. So this is where the availability of alternatives is there. Ergonomic advantages. Now many of the functions, many of the traditional functions or the duties, etc., is undergoing a change. Okay. So probably in the earlier lectures we have heard how the machines, robotics, robots have taken over many of the traditional functions which a man was supposed to do. Okay, so as a result of it, what happens now? What is it that you have to do? Now when it comes to the positive aspect, when it comes to the negative aspect, now what is it that you have to do now? You have 8 hours, let us say, though if we say 8 hours, it is beyond 8 hours. If you are there for 8 hours, right, I think another general trend which we find in Indian scenario is that you do BE, you are not happy with the BE, you also do management also. Why? Because there was a time where people used to make fun of jack of all, master of none, but now the society requires only those people. Okay, because engineers you can find. And most of the traditional functions which an engineer was supposed to do is taken over by the machines. So what is it that you have to do now? So the employer will ask you, what else? I can, I have an engineer, but I don't want engineering work to do because the machine is there. So that is where what you do. I also look into operations. I also look into human resource. I also look into finance. So what happens now? You are not satisfied with the BE. You also do an MBA. So that what will happen now? Despite that, now thanks to digital transformation, even those human related functions also, the softwares are there. So what is it that you have to know now? Idle mind. So many of the human related problems which you find in organization is because of that particular factor. So what is happening now? I have to be there because physical presence is there. This is one side of it. The other side, people talk about, I think, work from home and out of office. These are the two terms that many of these corporate individuals make use of. Now, the entire HR perspective is undergoing a change. You are given a laptop, you have a sophisticated mobile with you. So if you say, I don't want to leave, they say, it doesn't matter, you go. Wherever you go, like a hutch dog, I can trace you. Okay, so what happens there? That means you are physically, say that you are not at a workplace, but any time you can be, you can be caught and you can be catched, and the work can be got done by that. So that is where the entire ergonomic component, the work itself is undergoing a change. So physical, mental, all those factors is undergoing a change. Simplification of roles and functions. This is self-explanatory. Enables cognitive functions. Memory, decision making is another important factor. So probably you need not have to worry about certain aspects of decision making, certain aspect of problem solving, because human mind. You talk in terms of functional fixedness. You talk in terms of block. You can't go beyond a particular set. So whereas if it is a system is more flexible. As a result of flexibility, as a result of what will happen, the same problem can be looked at from a different perspective, so that problem solving, decision making would be facilitated. In the earlier lecture, he said all these systems technology is an enabler. Now when you say enabler, it enables you to look for an alternative which your normal brain may be fixed or because of the set, and that can be changed by that. So that is where it enables cognitive functions. Ubiquitous information. Now if I ask you a question, now what do you mean by ubiquitous? Now what do you do now? Immediately if I give you 30 seconds, one of you has a smartphone, just click what is ubiquitous, what is the synonym, and then you can tell me. So what do you mean by that? Wherever you want, whatever time you want, you get that particular information. And intelligent co-workers. So now what happens now? Individuals are also equally competitive. Robots also start competing with you. So when individuals and robots compete with you, you can't be complacent in saying that I am limited or I have this particular information only, because you have to compete with another individual, because the change is so rapid that until and unless you cope up with that particular change, manage with that particular change, your life will become miserable. So that is where intelligent co-workers, it is enhancing the skill set of the individual, and widespread collaboration. Now you can be here, we talk in terms of virtual organizations we talked about. Okay, so you need not have to do anything. If you are very good in networking, right? So the globe is the market for you. Now this is the advantage or the impact, or positive impact which we can see. Now having discussed about the positive impact, now let us try to spend some time on the negative impact also. What do you mean by negative impact? Over dependence or the reliance on technology. Now this is a major problem, especially at a beginning stage, at an early stage. What happens now? You are dependent on the technology. Okay, if I say that I have prepared a PPT, and if PPT doesn't go, then what will happen? Okay, the common problem with let us say the system, if it goes, then what will happen? If my entire lecture is dependent on that, I can't proceed further, my thoughts are always, my flow thoughts are dependent on charging from whatever I see on the PPT. And if the PPT doesn't work, then what will happen? My mind goes blocked, then I say thank you very much. Right? So that is where the problem is. Over dependence or reliance on technology, susceptibility to addiction. Now this is a major problem among the youngsters. Okay, so what happens? It may be a small gadget, it may be a your own smartphone, or it may be gaming addiction is becoming a major problem. Okay, so addiction. And on the other day we were discussing. I think I was in one of the police department, and he was a commandant, and he was saying that if my mobile is switched off for 1 hour, after half an hour my anxiety starts. Okay, if he's in a important meeting, he has to switch off, or he has to give his mobile to his attendant, and he will be, after half an hour, he starts panicking. That sort of an anxiety, what is going to happen, anybody who has called, or any problem is there, I can't attend to that at all. Okay, so the life is made more miserable. Nothing is going to happen even after 1 hour, only he has to take a decision. But what will happen now? I am dependent on that particular component, and that is where susceptibility to addiction is another factor. Underutilization of inherent abilities. Now this is when we talk in terms of capacity, when we talk in terms of creativity, when we talk in terms of optimal utilization of your innate abilities, so what do we do now? We don't use it at all. Okay, if you say, for example, 13 sevens are how much? Now what do you do? I have a calculator, I have so what is happening now? Mental functioning, innate mental functioning, primary mental abilities, in terms of reasoning, numerical ability, mathematical ability, reasoning. So I may not have to bother about that, okay, because my system is there which can give me the answer. So as a result of it, what will happen now? Those innate abilities, skills you have, you don't sharpen that. As a result of it, what will happen now? Those innate abilities will die down, and you won't use that at all. And later on, at the 30th, 40th year, now we find unfortunately, because of all this, what is happening now? Life is becoming stressful, and one of the major component of stress is that I don't, one is lack of purpose in life. Okay, so at that age, now as in some sectors, especially the IT sector, I normally say, a person who is a very intelligent, creative individual will be retiring at the age of 40. Another 40 years is there to live, right? So, to achieve this maximum highest post in the organization, he would have done all sort of gaming and gadgets and etc. And he has occupied and started enjoying that position. By that time, the next immediate subordinate start playing the same game which he has played to throw his boss out. And this is where the person starts thinking, is this what the life is? Man, life is purposeful. He lives as long as the life is purposeful. And if he says, is this what the life is? Then two questions come in, or two options come in. One is suicide, and another is spirituality. Okay, anyway, so these two are the factors that can come in, and that is where, underutilization of inherent abilities, dehumanization. Now, this is a major threat to the human psyche at a larger level. I don't look at the individuals or human beings as human beings. So it's only, I equate it with a system, I equate it with a file, I equate it with something else. Probably in the earlier years, now when we talked in terms of jails and cells, etc., each inmate was given a number. Name and individuals, humanity, human consideration was not an important factor. So that is why they were given a number, Kaidi number so and so. Now what is happening? Human beings are also associated with that sort of a coding component that is coming up. That is where dehumanization. I am not bothered about the human relations. I am not bothered about the interpersonal relationship. Is a major threat that is coming. And that's where, although digital technology has boosted children's talent for multitasking, their ability to process information deeply may be deteriorating. This is one of the latest studies which I found out that their multitasking ability has increased, no doubt. Okay, children can do multiple tasks at a point of time, at a single point of time. But when it comes to processing of information, Now that's where still we don't know whether the actual processing, right way of processing the information is possible or not. Again, we may have to depend on a system only to help us. Okay, so these are some of the negative impact that you can see. Now, challenges that are there while dealing with the digital transformation. So some of the challenges that are there is statistics reveal that the people working in them are unprepared. Okay, so digital transformation is there, whether we are ready for accepting that particular transformation. So we talk in terms of when we are using systems, okay, we call it in terms of human errors. There are different types of human errors. Okay, error of commission, error of omission. Okay, so when we are not prepared, it's still we are trying out with a trial and error, and at times this trial and error itself may be very costly. So one of the challenge is that are we really prepared for this? And again, from a social perspective, if we talk about, now when we say India, the two things that come in mind, you know, India at a very fast rate competing with China. In what? In the population. So when we have such a large population and unemployment, now whether if we go by that, now what is going to happen to the, let us say, Indian youth getting employment is a major factor. So that is one. Are we prepared for that? Our plans, our policies should be in terms of that particular aspect. Integration of indigenous perspective. Now this is an important factor. Technology when it is drawn from the West, technology when it is drawn from elsewhere, whether it facilitates the smooth transfer of technology. Now this is where indigenous perspective, native perspective becomes an essential factor. Even when we talk in terms of Facebook or WhatsApp or whatever that be, you know, we are still in a collectivistic culture. We are still in a multicultural society. So as a result of which, now whether we are barging into another individual's personal life. Now you look at, say, I look at this particular aspect. Now probably if you have seen from day before yesterday, the TV, if you switch on the TV, you find so many places, buses were pelted with stones, tires were busting, and all sort of things which you find. And when I see this, what impact it can have? Okay, this is one factor. Another angle, if a well-known person, a famous person, whether it is a film actor, whether it is a politician, whether it is a literary person, if that person loses his life, right? Look at the family members. All TV will be there on them, focusing on them. Poor fellows, they can't express their sorrow, they can't live in their grief also. In everybody's house, until the final cremation is over, the dead body will be there in your screen only. Now, what impact it can have on the young mind, what impact it can have on the bereaved family. Okay, so this is where the indigenous perspective becomes an essential factor. Are we prepared? Are we giving our cultural values into while using this particular component is a factor. Then authenticity of information. Now, this is a major challenge when you are using, especially for an educational purpose is concerned. So whether the information that is available, now probably just like all other business concerns, you know, if you enter into any of the business contracts, right, you know, there are terms and conditions. And it's a human tendency, it's a psychological game that these people do. That particular terms and conditions always will be in the font size of 4 or 3. Right? And the last line says, at your risk. I am not bothered. So what will happen now? At the time of entering into the contract, we would not have read the instructions. We would not have definitely read the last instruction. So as a result of it, what will happen now? So even Wikipedia also says that last. We are not, responsible for the validity of that information. And if you swayed away by the information, now this is where probably, I don't know if some of the newspapers also, if you read, there is a separate scientific section or a medical section. Now they will give the information in a very juicy manner, they will say. Okay, but what is that? That may be a small research that is being done in one laboratory, in one country. But you are projecting the result of that as if it is a universal accepted truth. Now what happens now? Very gullible individuals will go away by that. That is where, you say, one is in terms of astrology. Now astrology is also becoming, digital. Okay, so what you have to do now? Huh? No. Now what is happening is that, in terms of technology I'm talking about. Though astronomy, astrology are mathematics, digit oriented, now what is happening now? The use of that particular component. Okay, so authenticity of information. The last aspect or another would be moral and ethical dimension. And that can be related to the indigenous perspective I was talking about. Moral and ethical dimension, infrastructural issues is another factor. Whether you are ready for having that particular system in your workplace. Now, again, when you're talking to the virtual organizations also, what sort of a preparation you have, what sort of a let's say infrastructure that is needed. So these are some of the challenges that are there. Now, what are the corrective measures that could be looked into? One is in terms of legislation. Can some amount of rules and regulations, legislations be passed in order to control, in order to regulate the negative impact of this particular transformation is a factor. So that is where you talk in terms of legislation. Psychoeducation is another factor. Psychoeducation is a training program where people are informed, well informed about the negative impact of that. When to use, what to use, how to use is a major factor. That is where psychoeducation, probably we talk in terms of what is called as inoculation method, we say. So before you enter into a particular profession, you are prepared for what are the hazards, what are the challenges that you are likely to get it. So before I enter into, I know what is it that I am expecting. So if I expect that, probably preparedness also will be there, and that's where psychoeducation becomes an essential factor. Judicial usage. Okay, systems are there, definitely it is an enabler, but I have to judicially use that particular component. Probably when we talk in terms of negative impact, now the different systems that are available, now the systems can be used for positive, systems can also be used for negative aspects also. This is where judicial usage of it becomes an essential factor. And then it's an interesting principle or an adage about the human behavior is that man is social by nature, man is antisocial also by nature. Laws are made to be violated. So when that comes in, then what will happen now? Technology is there. Technology can also be used for positive aspect. Technology can also be used for the negative aspect. This is where new forms of criminal activities we are finding now. We talk about cybercrime, that itself is entirely a different game together. Okay, so I am using this technology. I learn this particular technology for the benefit of me. And again, business is also a game. And when you look at a business also, I have to win, and when I have to win, I am not bothered about what happens to my competitor. Business competition is good, but when competition transforms into rivalry, that is where the problem comes in. Okay, so that is one. Periodic evaluation of impact of people and organization must prepare immediately and strategically for a skill set that will perpetually change and evolve. Dynamism is a factor which we said. Development is also faster. So the development of the human mind and the development of technology, the pace which the human mind develops, the pace with which the technology develops do not match. So as a result, what will happen now? There is a periodic evaluation that is required. You have to, when you talk in terms of training, when you talk in terms of upgrading your skills, this is where the factor we have to take in. Periodic evaluation of impact. People and organization must prepare immediately and strategically for a skill set that will perpetually change and evolve. And learning for life. So ultimately, when you talk in terms of self is an important factor. I have to live, and living is not, unfortunately what is happening now, life is becoming mechanical. When you say life is mechanical, now all the problems you perceive is purely in your own mind. So if you say that you can find meaning in your life using this particular technology, can you make your life meaningful? Now use it only for the enabling purpose, not for the desirable purpose. I think in that way the corrective measures can be taken. Thank you very much.